Hi there. HBO just dropped another big House of the Dragon promo teaser earlier today, featuring a lot of new dragon footage, particularly our first official look at Vhagar herself. And some people are saying, oh, this is the last promo, the last trailer. How do you know that? It's Thursday. They might put out new stuff Friday and Saturday leading into the Sunday premiere, but it had some really great new dragon shots. So I'm just dashing off this quick going over of it because 2 days ago I actually made a really extensive half-hour long video going over all of the info they had in a couple of interviews cross-referenced of the design process that went into the dragons on this show. That there's three distinct breeds, and a big part of it, the middle part for about 10 full minutes, was the design process that went into Vhagar. As you can see here, the idea is, well, they said they took an idea from the books and just logically extended it, which I thought was cool, that, well, dragons never stop growing, the books say. They said, well, why did Balerion eventually die of old age around 200 years old? Eventually, biology just can't physically sustain something that big anymore, even in a fantasy world, that this would be pushing it. That the idea is that because a dragon never stops growing around 200 years, it gets to the point that it's having trouble moving, that this is a biology principle, the square cube law, that when you make something that big, its internal organs simply can't keep pace proportionately with its size, that the heart would be overwhelmed eventually. And it's wearing out. They said it's almost like cancer. It's not cancer, but like her scales are getting really overgrown. It's like having calcium deposits, that she's a little worn and her body's no longer in sync with itself, coordinated, because it's never stops growing to the point it hurts it. But it's still invincible when it's in the air. So check out the other video for the longer, detailed version of that. But yeah, you can see that with it. She looks a little older. She's this big grandmother dragon, literally. That her belly's a little saggy, the scales on her throat are a little saggy, and like the horns around her face look droopier, but she's still gigantic and very menacing. So that's the design process that went into Vhagar. Check out the full video for that. Other stuff we saw in this video really fast. We saw a lot of the War for the Stepstones stuff. I mean, really good CGI for... It's weird how we didn't have a lot of CGI in Game of Thrones Season 1, and like Battle of Whispering Wood with Robb Stark was entirely off-screen. This is a minor proxy war by comparison against pirates, but the scale looks massive because they're actually depicting it, of, like ships lowering their landing stuff for landing troops on the shore, prows, battering rams that look like dragon claws. This is amazing. And just in the visual, it's nice to have, but I'm more worried about the story, but it's that they can tell this on that scale. I also really appreciate that all these shots of Caraxes burning things at night. They look so demonic. And remember when they said, oh, we're never going to do night scenes again? No, 60-day crazy night shoots, yeah, because that was incompetent, but the other people didn't understand, even when the director was yelling at them, do you understand that if you use natural lighting at night, you can't see anything? Versus, notice how this is night, but we can see everything because it's lit by the flames, that there is a light source. They thought that out. And it's just a good shot. Now, the interesting thing here, though, is the other dragons, if you pause and think about it, that this one that's strafing a cliffside path, this is not Caraxes. Head is shaped different, the legs are shaped different. This is probably Sea Smoke, because we've heard that in this version, Laenor's old enough to go with Daemon, with his grandfather, to go there, so he brings his younger dragon to fight. Another shot here of these two dragons flying. Now, this is not Caraxes, because as I pointed out in the longer video, he has these fins coming off of his back legs. And they said we did it as a counterweight thing, because his neck is so long, he needs to have some sort of balance there. So just looking at these two, the one on the right that looks reddish couldn't be Caraxes. The neck isn't disproportionately long. There are no little fins furled out on the back legs. This must be Meleys. And the other one is probably Sea Smoke because it's gray and smaller. That's her son's dragon. Not Vhagar for Laena or something. This brings up an interesting point. Remember that promo they put out, behind-the-scenes promo with George R. R. Martin, a week or two ago, where he was narrating the animated history of the Hightowers and Velaryons. They put out a shot of dragons in that was animated, but we were wondering, are these based on what they really look like in the show? And it looks like it is, because look at this particularly old, droopy-looking dragon in it who's still really big. We thought, wait a minute, is this the Vhagar design or based on it? Yes, look at the side-by-side here. That cartoon, they were using designs of dragons in the show, in that animated thing, and it kind of leaked out what Vhagar looks like a week early. Other dragons in it, these other two, are therefore probably also real designs from the show. Notice this red one, who isn't Caraxes, who kind of looks closer to Syrax, but has a ring of spikes coming off of her head, like a crown, like a dragon queen, a queen dragon, that has this almost like a frill of horns around the back, as a semicircle like that. And when you zoom in on the shot of this red dragon who can't be Caraxes because it doesn't have tail fins, from behind it kind of seems to have the same spike arrangement, so this is probably our first look at Meleys, which is cool because everyone likes her. The intriguing thing is we got this odd shot of what apparently is a juvenile dragon. And we've been debating this on Twitter, but I think this is a young Sunfire who will appear early in the season, before he's an adult. Now they said, and again, go back to the full video where I talk about there's 9 dragons in Season 1. Well, if you count them off, there's Caraxes, Syrax, there's Meleys, there's Vhagar, there's Arrax. That if you count this down, well, Arrax is white. He's not kind of yellow, gold. I don't think this is blue. That even in poor lighting, this looks yellowish, maybe gold. I think they darkened it. That Dreamfire is blue, so it couldn't be, and she'd be older anyway. That this is probably a juvenile Sunfire by like episode 4 or 5, before he has a growth spurt. And I can't tell what his head shape is supposed to be, the whole there's 3 breeds of dragon thing. His head looks like Caraxes' head. Maybe not the neck, but it's wider and wolf-like, with the horns that are pointing out and forwards from the eyebrows, and the bearded horns of the neck. This looks like Caraxes' head. So I don't know if he's just the same breed, or if they're going to play around with the Sunfire is literally Caraxes' son, or he could be. We don't know, because we don't know dragon lineages, but they're all interrelated, because they only had like 3, maybe 5 when they came to Westeros, who were egg producers that they had. So whenever they're fighting, I mean, they're, even from a not biology standpoint, Daemon's father used to ride Vhagar, and then his wife Laena did. But now it's this bitter enemy of Caraxes once Aemond gets it. That they all know each other. It's this fratricidal conflict. So, Vhagar's probably killing her grandchildren when she kills Arrax. We don't know the specifics, but are they implying that Sunfire is of the same breed as Caraxes? That's interesting, but it's hard to tell because he's a juvenile. Maybe his head just looks kind of smashed, mooshed up because he's young, and he'll look different when he's an adult. So we probably shouldn't read into that too much. Other stuff in the trailer, just from a story point, not dragon things, we actually see Harwin Strong being burned to death in a fire, which is what happens in the books. There's a fire at Harrenhal. I'm going to talk about this more in other videos, but there was a big thing in the books that there were 4 possible candidates who had a reason to kill him. And some people think Viserys, some think Corlys, some think Daemon. I have already said, and you can look this up on Twitter and forums, I always thought his younger brother, Larry Strong, killed him. He is the one that set that fire. I've been saying this publicly, you can check. I've already publicly wagered that I think we're going to find out in the show that Larry did it. Because I have heard rumors that didn't say who did it, they just said, you will see who does it. I'm telling you now, I bet his younger brother. Because Clubfoot is evil, and a creep. On top of that, one last shot here. This is Driftmark and Daemon, and he appears to be strangling Carl Corey, strangling him apparently to death. Is this confirming that Daemon ordered Carl to kill Laenor and then killed Carl to hide the evidence? Because that was another ambiguous thing in the books. We don't know. I always thought it was more interesting if he didn't do it, or if they should leave it ambiguous. I don't think they should show us Daemon killing Carl. They should leave it an open question and just imply he might have, much as the book did. Whatever. Lastly, this is probably one of the first quotable lines we have from the show. Remember when we had quotable lines that weren't just dick jokes and eunuch jokes about balls all the time and drinking from the later seasons, when it wasn't... I knew it wouldn't be as good as the book dialogue, because books take longer to write and the dialogue's really good, but relative to other TV shows, this was terrible dialogue in the later Game of Thrones seasons. And I was hoping that House of the Dragon would be at least I knew there isn't a lot of dialogue in Fire and Blood, so I didn't expect it to be book-level dialogue again. But I'm hoping it'll be as good as any other TV show, which has pleasant dialogue, but I'm relying on the good actors, like Matt Smith is a good actor, to elevate a script that, while not a 10 out of 10, is like a 7 out of 10 as a script, but then the actor elevates it. So I'm hoping that the actors... And I sympathize that there isn't a lot of dialogue in the source material because it's an outline. But that was just the first little fun quote of, the gods have yet to make a man who lacks the patience for absolute power. And I've heard from the advanced screeners, like David Lightbringer went to the advanced screening, and he said, Otto is like a meme machine, that he's very smart, so he's very witty, and he actually makes a lot of quotes that are going to... He said, I anticipate he's going to be the basis for a lot of memes. And I can see that now. That's just, it's nice dialogue because he's intelligent enough to... It's not yet another eunuch joke. It's some quip about power. And this is the first one. There hasn't been much dialogue to begin with, of course, but it's the first one from a trailer that I thought was, oh, that's really cool and quotable, which is nice. I think he's talking about Daemon because of the whole... But Daemon has never turned on me. He's going, maybe he's being patient. So that's a point there. So... This is what we're seeing with dragon designs and stuff. I raced this off without much planning. Check out the longer, more researched video I made on all the thought that went into the dragon designs. And it's about a solid 10 minutes talking about the design of Vhagar and why she looks like this. They went, well, she's this old grandmother. What would a dragon look like when it's that old but really huge? So please check out the link.